Are we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. Pow!
What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck?
What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF.
What the fuck?
With Marc Maron.
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fuck eyes? What the fuckericans? What the fuckers? I said that twice. Oh man, how could I be repeating myself when there are so many? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good middle of the night, whenever you're listening. This is Marc Maron. This is WTF. I hope everybody's okay. I'm recovering from a mild, what would you call it, spiderweb incident. Walking out to the garage, walked right into a spiderweb of some kind that I didn't see. I had my shirt off, which amplifies the spiderweb experience, and I just felt it hit my skin, and I went into that involuntary sort of spastic, panicky dance of fear, accompanied by unintentional grunts and sort of screams, like oh god, and then it reverberates. Like I know it's over. I didn't see a spider, but right now I'm like oh god, yeah, they keep coming. The spiderweb dance of fear. Very humbling moment. Exciting way to start the day. I hope you guys are okay. Let's do some plugging. But before I do that, let me say that Sandra Bernhard is in the garage today. Very exciting. Very exciting. I always assume she's angry. We'll find out. I want to believe that she's an angry person, and I want to feel that. But we'll find out. We'll find out. So let's do this. How about you? Maybe you need a little pow! Man, did I just shit my pants. JustCoffee.coop, available at WTFpod.com or JustCoffee.coop. Let's get into this. For me, Nashville. I will be in Nashville this week, September 8th through 10th at Zanies. And then a couple weeks after that, I'll be at the Improv in Louisville, Kentucky, 22nd through 25th, or Louisville, pronounced properly, but Louisville pronounced if you're a local. This episode of WTF is sponsored by Stitcher Radio. You can listen to this show and thousands of other popular podcasts on the go from just about any smartphone or iPad with Stitcher Radio. No downloading or syncing. You get all your favorite shows instantly through Stitcher. You get NPR programming, you get The Moth, you get Kevin Smith, I think Adam Carolla, you get this show. You can customize your own channel so you can play your favorite shows whenever you want. Now, the Stitcher Radio app is free and even supports live radio stations. To check out the free Stitcher app, go to the iPhone or Android app stores or go to Stitcher.com/WTF and enter promo code WTF for a chance to win an iPad 2. WTF will be waiting for you in your favorite station when you download the app. Stitcher.com/WTF and enter promo code WTF for a chance to win that iPad 2. There you go. How's that? Stitcher Radio. Man, oh fuck, I still feel like I have spider webs on me. Horrendous. There's been some big fucking spiders around, man. I'm not afraid of them like I can stand close to a spider. I can look right at a spider and be fascinated. There's some big spiders around here, but there's still part of me, I'm terrified of them. Not in an honest way. Like, I don't think they're going to bite me. There's just something fucked up and scary about spiders. Man, the bugs are taking over. They're fucking, there's nothing we can do about it. The war is not between good and evil. It's between us and bugs. It's between everything else and bugs, ranging from single-celled organisms to just renegade strands of DNA, the viral variety, all the way up through the largest bugs that you can find. I can't, oh God. Let's shift gears. Let's just shift gears. This is getting ridiculous. Hey, those of you who condescend, the Jew with tools, I am a Jew with tools. I did some tool work. I did some man's work. I'm out in the garage, so this area, the garage, is not meant for that type of work. I've got my printer on the old tool bench that I left in this garage when I bought the house. Like, it looks like there was some serious work done in this, but there's nothing in here. Like, I got my air conditioner, I got my lamp, I got my printer, and some other things on that tool bench, and the rest of the garage is not for garage use. But I got a tool shed that I built years ago, small shed, put it together myself. Look, I am a Jew, but I am built for athletics. I'm built for building. Choose not to. That's all. Doesn't mean I can't do it. So what happened was, got a screen door problem. My front door is a weird custom-built door that was probably made in the early 1900s. I have no idea when it was made. It's not really replaceable unless I get go to a wood shop. Didn't get that deep into the tools. The hinges are custom, so it sits on the door in a weird way. But there is a screen in it. Don't know when that screen was replaced or when it was actually put in. It's got to be 50 years, 40 years ago. So the screen started disintegrating. There's a large hole in it. LaFonda figured out how to jump in and out of the hole, put a big piece of cardboard over the bottom of the door. Then LaFonda figured out how to climb up over the cardboard for both in and out. And then Monkey figured it out. And then something had to be done because we can't have Monkey outside because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing out there. He got out the other night and I watched him stand in the middle of the neighbor's field next door on the slope, just sitting there going, meow, meow. Yeah, just he might as well have been calling out for a coyote to come crunch his head off. Back to the screen. So, of course, being the guy that I am, busy and whatnot, I thought, I got to get a guy. I got to get a screen guy. Where do you get a screen guy? Can I just look up screen guy? Do I got to take the door off and bring it to a screen guy? And then I thought, hey, Maron, you're a man who knows how to handle a screwdriver at the very least. Why don't you try to fix this door yourself? Now, that could be the beginning of a bad situation because a lot of you know, maybe you're the type of person I am. Sometimes you start those projects and you're like, you get about halfway into them and you realize, holy shit, I have no fucking idea how to do this. Now I've got the door off its hinges. I've got the screen frame off and I don't have the right tool to do this. And now it's just going to sit here like this. Whatever. I pulled that fucking door off and I carefully took the frame. It's an old style screen, so the frame is not like the one you roll in putty. You got to pull the frame off, and I pulled the frame off carefully because I thought I was going to use the frame. And I don't know when the last time this thing was changed, but there was termite damage underneath the frame on the door that looked like it was at least 100 years old. My house was built in 1925. Now we'll get back to that in a second. So now I know what I got to do. I got to go buy the wood for the frame because I can't use the old frame. So I go to the Osh hardware, find the wood that I need, pull out a couple planks, bring it to the guy there. I say, can you cut it at an angle because I need to build a frame? He goes, we don't cut angles. You need one of these things, one of those saws with the little thing that you slide it into the slats and it cuts in at an angle. Bought one of those for $8, brought the wood home, figured out the right lengths, cut the angles, pulled the screen off, got a roll of screen, rolled it out, stapled it in. I was told to staple it in. We put the frame in around it. Took about half a day, maybe. Cost about $60. Stained the new frame around the screen, put it up in front of my house, put the door back on its hinges. No one believed that I could do it. Paul Gilmartin, who was over at my house, said, let's just build a new door at my wood shop. And I said, no, Paul, I'm going to replace this fucking screen. He said, I wouldn't even attempt that, and I work with wood. You should call a guy. You should call a screen guy. All right, well, fuck you, doubters. I've got a new screen and a new frame on my front door. All right, and if you come over, I'll be happy to show it to you. You know, even if, because you might just walk by. You'll open the door, but then I'll say, wait, come out here. Look at this. You see this? This frame with the stain? I did that. You know why? Because I'm a Jew with tools. I can do the tool thing if I need to. Let's get back to the termite damage. So what does that imply? See, this is bug thing again. It's fucking bugs. All right, this look like old termite damage in this door. I mean, at least 50 years old. So that means not unlike the ant colony that, the ancient ant colony that my house seems to be built on. What are the odds that the entire frame of my house beneath the plaster is just like balsa wood from a century of termites? Then I started thinking like, well, that's horrible. So this thing could just crumble. The whole thing could crumble because there's no foundation. Then I had the ant guy come over who was killing ants. I said, what are the chances? I said, I don't know. Usually when they're here, they come back. But I'm like, this looks very old and I've not seen anything. And then like I realized, what am I going to do about that? Do I have to put the tent on the house so it looks like a circus and for 3 days and fumigate? And then I got to put the cats in cages. Everything was unfolding into a horrendously overwhelming, anxiety-ridden panic for me just to think about dealing with that. But I've not seen any of those things. But do you ever see them? And aren't we all decaying? See, it's not good and evil. It's us against bugs. Like I'm starting to get aches and pains. I've talked about them. Maybe my foundation, my infrastructure is rotting. My house's infrastructure is rotting. See, fucking bugs, man. God damn it. Have you ever seen a potato bug? I had not seen one in a long time. Because when I knew them when I was a kid, they were Jerusalem crickets. And if you ever saw one, you would fucking just freak the hell out because they're like fucking monsters. Well, guess where I saw one? in my living room. I'd never seen one here. They are horrendous. They look like half a scorpion, half a spider. Their head is just two fucking fangs. Their body is like a big old they are they come from hell. These things come from hell. I had not seen one since I was a kid in a pool filter out in the fucking desert of New Mexico. There was one in my living room. And this is what tests your masculinity. It's not using tools. That's easy. It's how do you handle a potato bug? And do you freak out? I'm standing there with Jessica. She's like, what is that? And I'm like, that's a Jerusalem cricket, and we have to move out of the house. We should get a hotel room until that thing goes away. No, I didn't say that. I said, where's a paper towel? Let me just do this. And I picked it up, and I put it outside. So there you go. I'm a saver and a handler of potato bugs, and I'm a guy that can use a saw and one of those little slat things that cuts at an angle and then builds a frame for a door. But I'm also not the kind of guy who would stop myself from doing the panicky, I just walk through a spider web dance. The spastic dance of web panic. Not afraid of that. Not afraid to show that part of myself. That's who I am. Who are you? So, folks, sometimes on this show, I like to support comics. I know that you think I'm a condescending douchebag, or you think that, sometimes I'm a little hard on comics, but I'm all for the noble undertaking by my comedian peers, and I have something for you. If you have not heard of the Laughter Against the Machine tour, it's happening. Kamau Bell, Nato Green, Janine Brito, very funny lesbian. Can I say that?
Yes. She takes that as a compliment.
She would not take offense to that.
No.
So what we're dealing with here is this is a tour that is being made into a documentary that needs your help because they need a few more bucks. I'm going to talk to NATO and I'm going to talk to Kamau, who are on the phone, in a minute. But I just want to tell you that this is a classic liberal triangle. You have a black man, a Jewish socialist, and a lesbian. This is powerful stuff, and these are all funny people, and they're hitting the road, and they're going to the main centers. I'm not sure. Let me get you guys on now. So tell me what's behind the dates here. We got September 10th in Phoenix. Why Phoenix?
Well, Phoenix was really sort of sparked. I mean, the whole tour was inspired by Arizona. That after Gabrielle Giffords got shot, we just thought every time Arizona's in the news, they're doing something stupid, and there have got to be some cool people in Arizona trying to fight back against the crazy immigrant-hating, face-shooting nuts down there, and they could use a laugh.
And that's where you come in. Great. So now tell me about Chicago, Illinois. What about that date?
Chicago, we knew we were going to Dearborn and to Madison, Wisconsin, and we wanted to go to Chicago. Kamau and I both have roots there, and and Chicago has this incredible history, and so we sort of wanted to touch down there before forging deeper into the Midwest. To Dearborn on the 16th, which is historically a white racist city that was of Ford factory workers that has been overtaken by Muslims and now has the biggest Muslim population in the country, and we thought that was interesting.
Can I ask you a question, NATO? I mean, I just want to make sure you check yourself. You did say overtaken. You did say that.
I'm comfortable saying that white racists have been overtaken by Arabs.
Okay. So that was intentional. I didn't know if that maybe something slipped out of you. And
no.
Okay.
On purpose.
Okay. Madison, Wisconsin, obviously the great recall elections and union activity.
That's right.
And then we go to Washington, D.C. to take it right to the Capitol steps. Am I right? Where are you performing there? On the Capitol steps, fellas?
Yeah, basically, but down the street and across town.
Oh, you mean you're going to be performing in front of the monument, Kamau? Is this going to happen?
Well, it's near the monument, but not there either.
What venue? The Art Center.
It's the DC Arts Center, which is, we're going to take, that's why we're the documentary crew. We might go to the Capitol and try to take it to the Capitol, but then we'll do a show later that evening and tell everybody what happened.
Okay, and New Orleans, obviously devastated by Katrina and still...
No, New Orleans for everything that's happened to New Orleans since the founding of New Orleans, apparently.
Yeah. All right, and then you end up in Oakland, which is obviously Oakland.
Yeah, it's our home base, and again, Oakland pretty much for the same reasons we're going to New Orleans, but So, and it's as to even though me and Nita live in San Francisco, Oakland has always been the place where the Laughter Against the Machine shows have gone the best. So that's our home in the Bay Area.
So now you're hoping to stir up some shit and get some documentary footage. So now what do people need to do in order to get this over the top? You need $20K. You've got 14 and change. and they go to Kickstarter. It seems to me the easiest way for people to make a contribution to this movie getting made is to go to Kickstarter and do a search for Laughter Against the Machine and to kick in a few bucks. And it seems that there's tiers of donations. Like I think that if you donate like $1,000, you can have a threesome with whoever you want. Is that you pick whoever?
That's true. Well, you have to have it with the three of us, but yes, you can have a foursome if you want to.
Bring someone else.
Fivesome.
Yeah, and that would be considered a political action. And
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, if you go to Kickstarter, you look up Laughter Against the Machine. There's several different tiers of donation, and there are things that you get. You meet and greet, dinners, this, that, and the other thing. Go and check it out. But this is a good cause because there aren't a lot of people doing this type of comedy anymore and bringing it to people in politically charged areas in order to sort of disarm some of the bullshit that has gone down in the last 50 years. You are disarming 50 years worth of bullshit, or should we say maybe 100 years worth of bullshit?
I'm going with 1,000 years of bullshit.
Holy shit, NATO. That is a big undertaking.
Well, it's a lot of work.
All right, so
and we only have till Friday to raise the money. So
okay, so you got till Friday. It'd be great to get this movie made, and I really want my listeners to help out. So go to Kickstarter, look up, search Laughter Against the Machine, and kick in whatever you can because I think this should be an interesting tour. And go see the live shows as well in those dates mentioned. What is the site that they can go get all the information about the tour, fellas?
latmcomedy.com.
latmcomedy.com for the tour info. Kickstarter. Look up Laughter Against the Machine to help support these liberal bastards in their agenda. I find that picture frightening. That is my mother's mother's mother. So that's my great-grandmother. I don't know why those pictures are always creepy.
Well, it's the times.
People were just...
Don't you think we should be talking about this on air?
We are talking about it on air.
Oh.
It's all happening.
Yeah, I just think that those were the times. People didn't say to you, smile.
But really?
In Yiddish. No, people were, conservative and quiet and introspective in the old country.
That is not. I don't
think there was a lot of joy and maybe there was dancing at weddings and simchas, but day to day there wasn't a lot of laughs.
It doesn't. That is not how my mother characterizes that woman in that picture. My mother characterizes her grandmother as being a terror that made her eat horrible things and blames her.
That woman?
That woman apparently was evil and forced my mother to eat.
Okay, well, but we're saying the same thing. She doesn't look happy. She looks hard. She looks...
But I mean, okay, maybe I just can't see the screaming version in my mind.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if she was. I can't testify to whether she was a screamer. And those are all her kids.
My grandmother is on the left. That little girl on the left. And that's my Uncle George in the back.
Yeah.
And that's Gussie.
Oh,
my great
There's always
Aunt
a Gussie. There's always a Gussie.
What does that stand for? Is it just Gussie? Is it Gertrude? I mean,
it's Gertrude.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, because also, and I know a lot of people who are Gertrude who were Gizzi, who are from Hungary. Gizzi is the Hungarian
version of Gussie
of Gertrude. Yeah,
that's Poland. That Poland being represented there. That's
our Polish.
Yeah. Sandra Bernhard is in my garage. We're talking about old Jews in a very abstract way, as we both are slowly becoming them.
My friend Elise Roth is a producer and a huge fan of yours.
Oh, I know her.
Lacey E. Roth. The Buzzies.
What is she? How do I know her? I feel like we've met.
You have. I'm pretty sure she knows you, and you've worked and done something together.
Now I feel bad. I feel like I should edit in. Of course, Elise. How is she?
There, that's fine. That'll make Elise happy. Just leave it. Put the. Anyway, she said that you are also from Arizona.
New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico.
My brother lives in Arizona.
Okay, because
you grew up.
Well,
there?
I moved to Arizona when I was 10.
But you are you're ingrained and wired East Coast Jew, aren't you?
No, actually, I'm from Michigan originally.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a Midwest Jew.
That has just as much integrity.
Yeah, it does.
There was
more.
Yeah, there was a small tribe that spread out throughout the Midwest.
That's right. Not so small. I mean, a big
Wisconsin,
tribe.
all those places.
Well, Michigan and Ohio.
How did your family get there?
My grandparents came from Russia.
To Michigan?
To Michigan.
Were they farmers or anything?
No, they were in the junk business.
Junk business.
Scrap and iron.
Sure. I don't know. Why did you gravitate towards that? Some of the guys who made the studios out here
because that's what they did. That's what they did in the old country. They were rag pickers. You know, that was all that was available.
Are you fascinated with that?
Of course I am.
So did you track down, like, your grandfather? What was your grandfather's name?
Well, I didn't have to track him down. My grandfather.
He was there? You grew up?
I grew up with him. Sam Lazebnik. Which means Lazebnik, which means barber surgeon.
Wow. So that
in those days, apparently, if you were a barber, you could also remove somebody's appendix.
I think that was the way it was. Yeah, in the Middle Ages, I guess all the way through it was the same thing.
Yeah.
I get I kind of get fascinated with it, but I don't get too hung up on it. I think more when I was a kid, I was sort of hung up on my whole heritage, and I knew, I've got an Izzy somewhere back there, and they were, I don't know.
I've got everybody. Listen,
what?
My grandfather Sam and his brother Uncle Joe, who when he came to this country ended up with the last name Davidson because his father was David.
Right.
So, when they came, when they came in, they'd ask questions, and he probably just said, what's your father's name? David. So they just called him Davidson.
Right. Oh,
so he didn't have Lazebnik. He had Davidson. It was Joe Davidson, Sam Lazebnik. Then my grandmother, Edith. Yeah, Edith Eisenberg. Uh-huh. And her sister, Bessie. Two sisters married two brothers. So Bessie and Joe were married, and Sam and Itka, which is her Yiddish name. So,
oh my God!
So we have all these double cousins on that side. It's nuts.
My father's grandparents on his mother's side were first cousins.
There's that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they let that happen. So
but
now
this is a little different. It's two brothers.
No,
of
course
sisters.
There's no incest involved.
No. Yeah. Maybe there was. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm fortunate to have the legacy of diabetes and heart disease and shaky genes due to a cousin coupling.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. Do you ever get that feeling when you look at Orthodox Jews that I've had this discussion.
I get a lot of feelings when I look at Orthodox Jews.
What are they?
Well, I get the feeling that there's not a lot of hygiene.
Right.
With these men that are wearing the stremmels, the fur hats.
Yeah.
And
so they smell.
Listen.
All right. Okay.
From herring.
Yeah.
From sweat, from praying.
Yeah. Not only do they dress like it's a 18th century Poland or whatever it is, but they eat the same way.
Yeah.
But I've had this conversation before. Do you ever look at them and think like, without the getup, this guy doesn't look Jewish? Like they're red hair, some of them fine skin because they're not spreading out the gene pool enough.
That's right. Right. It's very crazy. I don't want people to think we're anti-Semitic either.
Aren't we allowed to be as Jews? Or is that
I think
bad?
It's more self-referential and it's introspection. It's like you look at us, we want to get better.
Right.
We don't want to just stay in the loop.
Right.
But there's something I love about the continuity and the history of it. I mean, it's fascinating.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's just like boom, we left Eastern Europe and boom, here we are. And it's like in 100 years, it's like we bear no resemblance to the people we were.
In that picture.
I find that, well, I've seen some women who look like that,
Yeah, they're just done up a little better. Mm-hmm. They got different hairstyle, a little more attention to accessories.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Scottsdale, Arizona, is that where you were?
Yeah, that's where I went to high school.
Did you know Gary Shandling?
I didn't know Gary then, no. I know Gary now, but not then.
So let me tell you how I became sort of obsessed with you a while back. When I was in high school, you're not that much older than me, but I remember seeing The King of Comedy, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. But then I was a doorman at the Comedy Store. And I was a doorman at the Comedy Store in 1987. And the belly room at that time was not... It was just a place where non-paid regulars work, but she still had the pictures up there
right.
for the original concept of the belly room.
That's right.
So your picture is up there.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people necessarily associate you with straight up stand up.
Yeah.
Which you are.
Yeah.
And when did you come out here? What age were you?
I was 18. I came out in 1974. That summer, I went to manicuring school, Charles Ross School of Beauty on Beverly Boulevard, next to Jan's Coffee Shop.
Do you still got it?
I dream that I still have it, which scares the hell out of me that I'm back manicuring again. And about a year later, I hooked up with this woman named Judy Vallon, who would perform special material by her mother.
What does that mean?
Well, in the day, people would write special material for people, like songs, like kind of like
I never
vaudeville, burlesque.
That's what they called it.
Yeah, special material by whoever wrote the material.
Okay.
So I forgot how I met her. She lived around the corner above an SM leather bar in my neighborhood because I lived on Norton Avenue at the time.
Oh, my God, my phone now. Okay, yeah.
Don't worry, I don't care. Who cares? So she said, I don't know, I had a party one night, and I was doing my early, late teen Sandy shtick, and she was screaming with laughter. This is a woman who left her children behind
you had
in Ohio.
No aspirations to be a stand-up. You were just hanging out.
I had aspirations to move to L.A. and become either a singer.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a musical comedy star. I was influenced by Carol Channing when I was 8 years old, when I saw her in Hello, Dolly and at the Fisher Theater in Detroit. However, the years changed, musical comedy shifted.
Yeah.
Not that. I suddenly realized it really wasn't my bailiwick. I mean, there was a short window of opportunity for, that I thought musical comedy was, interesting.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'd been through too much. I've been traveled to Israel. I'd, been exposed to all kinds of interesting music. I love Joni Mitchell and Laura Nero. Yeah, I worked on a kibbutz for 8 months after high school.
How was that?
It was fabulous.
Really?
I had a great time.
So you were pretty Jewish.
It wasn't even about being Jewish then, because 90% of the volunteers on the kibbutz were from all around the world. So it was like, from South Africa and England and Australia, and not even Jewish.
And what'd you do? You planted things?
I did everything. I worked in, I picked fruit.
Did it change
worked
your life?
Yeah, it changed my life. It changed my well, and not that I, as a kid, didn't have a work ethic, but what kids don't know about work ethics. So I learned about getting up every morning and doing something mundane that had a payoff in the sense of great,
being part of the
reward,
community.
A reward, that you've done something and you've helped.
Yeah.
So I took that experience to Hollywood with me and wasn't afraid to get up every morning and work as a manicurist to support myself, and then go off, a year later, Judy Vallon says, you got to come to the Ye Little Club, which had open mic night. That's where Joan Rivers used to do her act on Cannon Drive. And so she took me there, and she said, you're going to meet Paul Mooney. I've told Paul Mooney all about you. And
young Paul Mooney.
Yeah, and you're going to meet Lotus Weinstock.
Oh, yeah.
Who, then they're going to love you. And I got up, and I was wearing safari shorts, a safari jacket, a hat, and some lace-up espadrilles. And I got on stage and I did my Mary Tyler Moore impression. Oh, Robert Petrie, you have ruined your birthday surprise. Then I did my first joke. I'm a medium. I understand you're a small, you're an extra large. That was the first. I don't write jokes, but I had to write a joke. So that was my joke. And so I had 5 to 7 minutes of material. I got off stage.
Joke.
Yeah. And Paul Mooney and Lotus Weinstock, wrapped their arms around me, and Paul Mooney said, Bernhard, I'm Mooney. You're brilliant. They're going to put you through hell in this town. They can put you through hell in a pair of kerosene drawers. You're a cigarette come to life. And Lotus was just like my earth mother. And the two of them really became my angels in this business. So that was that scene was it more of a variety show? Was it all stand-ups? Was the Comedy Store open yet? Oh yeah, the Comedy Store's open.
Like just a few years?
This is where you went, before you could get on at the Comedy Store.
Right, but Mooney was already at the Comedy Store.
Mooney was at the Comedy Store.
So there's like a satellite room.
Yeah, but you still went and did your shtick all around town, and everybody was doing it. And then from there,
who else was on the scene?
Who was on the scene then? Everybody. I mean, when I started off, there Letterman, Jay Leno, Elaine Boozler,
Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong were already. They were already. I did a small role in their film. Was it Up in Smoke or something?
Yeah. I'm just going by the pictures. I remember. I'm still sort of obsessed with those pictures. Like,
no. Cheech and Chong had already become.
Craig T. Nelson was on the wall there. Barry Levinson. I mean, did these guys actually do stand up in your recollection?
Not when I was there.
Oh, but you were there almost at the beginning, right?
Yeah, but no, I don't remember them per se.
They might have just stopped by.
Robin Williams got up every night.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the different people that were there on a regular basis.
So you were there with Letterman when he started, basically.
Yeah.
And you guys was in Roseanne? Not yet. That was before her
Roseanne
time.
Came long after I had left the comedy scene.
And what was your experience with Mitzi, and how did people get in?
Mitzi was, very, she didn't like a lot of women. She liked her men around her, Argus Hamilton, and all the people that she had affairs with.
Yeah. Steve Landisberg. Was he doing stand up then?
Yes, he was doing stand up.
God, I can't even. What was that like?
very droll, esoteric. You know, I mean, I didn't really stand and watch them. You know.
Who did you watch? Like, who were the people that you were like, holy shit? Was Pryor coming around?
Pryor would come around because then Paul Mooney got me on the Pryor show. He got all of us on the Pryor show on NBC. Robin and Marsha Warfield. Everybody who was on that show was because of Mooney.
Was he? Did you gravitate towards Richard at all in the sense of his comedy? Were you?
I always loved. Yeah, I mean, he's brilliant. Yeah. You know, I mean, I loved. I mean, two of my really early influences comedically were Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler. So when I first started performing, I was kind of like, I was a hybrid because I wanted to sing, you know, and I wanted music. Yeah. So I took that kind of, you know, high energy from Bette Midler, and then, you know, the kind of, just the flow and intellectual aspect of Lily Tomlin, I kind of merged the two initially, just because you know, you have to emulate somebody when you start. And then shortly after that, I began to like develop my own style, you know, I would, you know, because I took it more of a rock and roll direction, and you know, and then I got more into like fashion and reading from magazines and doing all my little
on stage.
Yeah.
So like,
and I would talk about being a manicurist because of course I was doing that, so that was a great kind of like, you know, I talk about my clients and the ladies of Beverly Hills and, you know, and slowly evolve my style.
Now, when you were doing that, so you weren't singing yet on stage?
No, not right away, but like within a year I was singing, and no matter what, because there was always a piano player at clubs. So I would give them like sheet music, and I would do a song at the end of my show. And my signature piece was Desperado by the Eagles.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would always close my show with Desperado. It was like, people were like, what? I don't know, whatever. I just did it. I wrote it through.
You sang it earnestly?
Yeah.
For what reason? You just liked it?
Because I liked the song, and I liked what it had to say, and you know, it was all about like, you know, being alone and, you know, out on the range, basically. It kind of was metaphoric, you know, for me. You know, I was like, here I was, this, you know, young woman in L.A. on her own, so.
But you're pretty, like, when I watch you from early on, like, in early clips and even in, you know, well, King of Comedy, which obviously was a character. I mean, there's a certain, like, an insane intensity, and there's something almost menacing about your stand-up sometimes, in the point where, like, I was a little nervous that you were coming over, because you're fucking a force to be reckoned with.
I'm only a force to be reckoned with when I'm really hungry, and because I get hypoglycemic.
Do you starve yourself before shows?
No, not at all. But I don't feel that. I feel like I've gone in different direction.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's really the thrust of my shows
anymore.
No.
I'm just talking about back then.
Historically. Listen, I had to be that tough because, you know, I was on my own. You know, you pull up to the Comedy Store, you got to park in the parking lot. You're a lady alone. I was a girl. I was a kid, you know, living in Hollywood and stuff. And it's like.
But how were you received by male comics? Because I mean, I don't like to bring this up because I've been criticized for it, but there is a sort of
sexism.
Well, I know, no, I don't mind bringing that up, but I mean just the competition of it all.
Yeah, there's always competition, and there still is. I mean, I think people like, you know, comics don't really like each other underneath it all.
You don't?
No, I mean,
why?
Because I think it's threatening. I mean, there's a small pool of material to draw from.
But do you think that comedians like anybody deep down? I mean,
most comics don't like themselves to start with, so they probably don't like too many other people.
Yeah.
I never liked the comedy scene because of that. I like a sense of camaraderie. I mean, most of my friends are, you know, music people. I'm very good friends with Roseanne because she transcends stand-up comedy.
She transcends most things.
Yeah, because she's crazy and brilliant.
Yeah.
So I never, you know, with the exception of Paul Mooney and Lotus, because Lotus is also was a singer-songwriter and had a very soulful quality to, and she'd been on the, you know, she'd gone out with Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, when she was a kid, almost.
When she was a kid, so I've always been attracted to people who are very eclectic.
Right. Were most of these guys that all of us know now as these, you know, kind of like Letterman and Leno and the guys who were at the store at that time, were they nice to you? I mean, did you guys hang out?
No, I mean, no. I mean, they were fine.
Right.
They were weird guys. Like, you know, it's like, it's a weird business to be in. You know, they're like, everybody's trying to get laid and everybody's, you know, trying to like be groovy. And, no,
they were just kind of around.
Yeah, they were
weird.
Around. I didn't really like any of them.
I guess that we're all sort of social misfits on some level.
Yeah.
So
there is that element to it. But I mean, I don't feel like I'm a social. I never felt like I was a social misfit because I was influenced by, I liked old Hollywood. I liked Broadway. I liked glamour. I wasn't trying to denigrate. I never denigrated myself. I never did self-deprecating material, which was very unusual for a woman at that time.
Yeah.
I celebrated myself, and I think that was very like disarming for people.
And at that time, you chose not to get stuck in that kind of like stand-up comedy club circuit. You made some sort of conscious decision at some point not to be...
Well, I was lucky because, shortly after, I was on the scene for 5 years. I was making the rounds. I was doing, Rusty Blitz's, bagel place. And,
yeah.
Rusty Blitz?
No.
You don't remember
Before
Rusty?
my time.
There were a lot of, like, weird places you could go and do your act that had, like, 20, 25 people. But, those are the places where you hone your craft,
where you can figure out new stuff.
Yeah, you get up, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up.
Sure.
But, by 1981, I had been cast in King of Comedy.
How did that happen?
I, actually, my friend Lucy Webb, who was a part of a comedy team, my friend Cheryl Henry and Lucy Webb had a comedy team, and Lucy had gone up for the role. Almost every actress and every comedian in Hollywood had gone up for the King of Comedy, and my agent at the time, who was Chris Albrecht,
from HBO.
He was at ICM. Kept telling me he had gotten me up for it, but he hadn't gotten me up for the role. And Lucy said, "You've got to get up for this role, Sandra. I'm going to call Sis Corman myself." She called Sis Corman, and I set up my own meeting.
She's the casting director?
She was the casting director. I went in and I improvised and read from the script, and she looked at me and she went, I think Marty would like to meet you. Yeah. So I think it was either the next day or maybe later that day I came back and I met with Marty and I read for him, and he was, and then he...
Was he like intense and frenetic?
Yeah. And he and De Niro... came to the Comedy Store to see me perform, and Richard Belzer got up and improvised with me, like kind of the way it would be in King of Comedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As a favor to you, or did they ask him to?
Yeah, I asked him, but he loved me. He would.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Belzer's so sweet.
Yeah.
So we did this funny little improv. They loved that.
Yeah.
A month went by. I didn't hear anything, and then they called. They called. I know. I was like, I went down with Mooney to Palm Springs. I said it's not happening. I was depressed, and then I got back, and it was before cell phones.
Sure.
And they had left me a message on my answering machine, and I was like, oh my God! So they flew me to New York, and I met with Jerry Lewis, and I auditioned with Jerry Lewis, and that was kind of like that. They had to see how I interacted with Jerry. So I was hanging around for a couple of days. Do you remember Belle Swerdling, who was at the door at the Comedy Store?
No, I was a doorman in 1980. Late.
I was later. By this point, she'd already become an agent. Anyway, Belle was with me, and we were sitting on my bed at the Mayflower Hotel on Central Park West. The phone rang, and they told me, Sis Carmen told me I got the role, and I was just like, I didn't even know how to respond.
They said Jerry likes you.
Yeah, they love me. They love me, and then we went downstairs to have lunch at the conservatory, and then De Niro and Scorsese walked by, and I ran after them down the street just like Masha would in King of Comedy. I grabbed them and I hugged them, and they were scared, and the whole thing was just like, and that was like, boom. So exactly 30 years ago, as a matter of fact, that we shot King of Comedy.
Now, when I can't even imagine. So how old were you?
I turned 26 my first night of shooting.
That's fucking unbelievable. And when you were doing it, how much leeway did you have in that character? I mean, obviously, I would imagine that a lot of people identify you with that character.
They do.
And they assume, like, she's pretty much like that.
Well, they did at the time, which I think probably was the reason I didn't get as many film roles as I should have gotten. And also, I had terrible representation, so I never got up for roles so I could go in and read for a part and show them. But you know what? You can't even look at things like that. That's what happened. It propelled my live performing career. Which is what I did a lot of. And then I got, I did other things, and here we are. I mean, careers are so funny. They're just weird,
Well, I think what's interesting, and we'll get to the evolution of it, is that what you set out to do, you did.
Right.
And whatever, wherever you thought you might have been, or whoever we are. I mean, I'm in my garage hosting a podcast. I'm not sure this was exactly.
Yeah, but everybody
plan.
loves it. It's successful.
Well, people dig it, and I'm happy with it. But everybody loves you too, and you seem to do all right for yourself.
I know I do.
So, but I want to know about Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis was insane.
If you've talked about this a million times, I apologize.
No, you know what? You're reaching out to a different audience. Some of these are great stories. These are stories I'm going to tell my whole life. I mean, Jerry Lewis was insane. He wore a different pair of socks every day. He cut his own hair with a Flowbee, in those Flowbee combs.
Right.
So it was just like he has his own thing. He used Dunhill aftershave.
Uh-huh.
He wore a certain kind of, collared shirt and he wore this pinky ring with his Jerry Lewis.
Did you have any understanding of him as a performer before?
Of course.
You were a fan, or you did?
I grew up with Jerry. Who didn't grow up with Jerry Lewis in the 50s, 60s, 70s?
So you saw the movies.
I saw the movies, The Nutty Professor. I watched the muscular dystrophy.
So was there a moment where this is a different Jerry Lewis?
Well, it wasn't so much about that. It was just more like, oh my God, this is like acting with my father. I mean, my dad's name is Jerry also, and he's equally as intimidating.
What's your dad do?
He was a doctor. He's been retired for a long time.
See, I grew up with a doctor too.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
What kind of doctor was your dad?
Orthopedic surgeon.
Oh.
But he screwed everything up. But that's another story. He was a little nuts. But doctors are a lot to deal with.
Yeah, my dad too.
He screwed it up.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, my dad had, my dad's a little bipolar, and he kind of made a mess of his life and his career.
My dad wasn't bipolar. He was just narcissistic and really mean.
Yeah, I got the yeah.
Super mean and abusive, and he's totally, has excommunicated myself and my three brothers.
Why?
Because he needs to blame people. He's blamed everything his whole life on other people.
Well, what is his particular victimness? I mean, what is he blaming them for? You don't know?
Just because, for mistreating him and disrespect. There's always disrespect in my dad's life.
What is it with fucking narcissists and they're such babies?
Well, I've tried to reconnect with him, and it was just the same old shit, and I was like, I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. And then my three brothers were all like, fuck this, who needs it? My brothers are all, successful professional people. I'm a fucking superstar.
Yeah.
And we're all, at the same time, we love our family. We're very close.
Right.
We're all real with each other.
Yeah.
But my father couldn't hack it. You know what I mean? It was just like
he couldn't cut it. Didn't make the cut.
No, he didn't make. He excommunicated
because it wasn't enough about him anymore.
That's right.
I just don't know what the hell to do with that. And then when he finally, what's weird is that when I finally pushed my dad to the wall to see what was in there, you know what's in there? Fuck you.
That's right. That's right.
It's the weirdest thing. You're looking like there's got to be a heart there, but really when you're when you're going after those needs,
no, it's not there.
But isn't that bizarre? Have you fully accepted the fact that somehow or another they're not going to be the parent you want?
Oh yeah. I mean, listen.
What?
This is what I look at. I look at all the great things I got growing up from my father, because I got a great sense of confidence.
Yeah.
And he had his own sense of humor and fun. Because when you're young, you're a parent, you're entertaining your kids. You're
you love them. You think they're
geniuses.
God,
my dad's so funny.
Yeah.
I would stand in front of the mirror with my dad and put shave cream on my face and take the edge of my toothbrush and pretend I was shaving while he was shaving. I worshipped my dad growing up.
What kind of doctor?
He was a GP, but he also did proctology, which was just so ridiculous. And there's
no end to the humor. Yeah.
But I didn't, me, I'm too sophisticated. I never mind that particular field.
Never mind.
Except there was only one joke I ever had. My father's a proctologist. My mother's an abstract artist. That's how I view the world. Yeah. That was my line for many years. And that was enough of a commentary.
Yeah, that was very good.
And people always like that. Anyway, where were we? Jerry Lewis.
So you're working with Jerry Lewis.
I worked with Jerry Lewis. He was, he's incredibly intimidating. I mean, he's a legend. He doesn't, at the time especially, he didn't like women. I mean, you see,
he's made statements.
He used women, but he used women in his movies as foils. There was no, it was just like they were there to go, oh, Jerry, you know what I mean? It was
but even more recently, he made a comment, I think maybe at the Aspen Comedy Festival a while back, that there's no funny women.
Yeah, but even, I think he's softened since then, because I was at his roast at the Friars Club about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And he saw me, and he was practically weeping, like, "Oh my God, I've heard great things about you, and I'm so proud of you." He was so sweet to me.
Isn't it interesting, these guys that you were fortunate enough to work with him, but they came up in a time where you made 20 movies.
Right.
That, some movies that nobody ever saw, but they were always doing movies. And like this one movie was sort of a life-defining thing for you.
Right.
And, on some level for him, it was like another movie.
It was and it wasn't. I'll tell you, because for two reasons. He was playing a dramatic character, and he wasn't directing it and in charge of it. So that was very challenging for him. And Scorsese is very generous and allowed him to, give his input in different, capacities just to, assuage him. And I understood that. I mean, it's Jerry Lewis,
Yeah.
It's a different generation.
I remember some guy made a point about that when I read a review of that movie, that in that scene where I think you're chasing him.
Yeah.
That, in the midst of all this sort of darkness and this serious character, he did that ridiculous run of his. That was just his feet were flailing about.
He's amazing.
So now after that movie, though, because I'm trying to think when there was a point where I knew you were on tour, and I think I was back in Albuquerque where I grew up, and you were performing somewhere, and I just got the feeling that did you go through, after that, your expectations were pretty high, I imagine.
Yeah.
And did you get bitter?
Oh, no. I never got bitter.
No? You didn't get angry?
No, I just got confused. I just didn't know. I kind of jumped around to a few different agents. I probably should have stayed with one agent. Yeah. I should have stayed with an agent who, could have groomed me in a different way. Yeah. The only time I really hooked up with great agents was in the late 80s. Sue Menger's super agent, who was a legend, went back to William Morris, and she took me on, along with a few other agents. And that's when they got me Hudson Hawk. Oh, yeah. Which was supposed to be a huge, huge, huge movie. And it was the first movie that Bruce Willis ever did that bombed. Yeah. So that was sort of that was upsetting, because that was a turning point where I was supposed to be kind of the comedic, funny, person who should have just jumped from one film to the next. Yeah. But because of that, when things bomb in Hollywood, on to the next person, like you had something to do with it. Right. But of course, Bruce Willis has made, a huge comeback, but I'm still waiting for my next big role in a film,
But what was the next film? Well, you did the documentary, but that was years later, right?
Well, I did my live performance. Yeah. No, it wasn't that. Actually, it was right around the same time.
For the first show, the one-person show.
Yeah, which was more, but it was like a film. It wasn't like a...
Right. Was it black and white, kind of? Was there parts of it black and white? Or I can't remember.
No, but we just did it. It was intercut with interviews. These fake interviews about people that were supposedly in my life, and then this woman who was kind of floating through as my alter ego, this beautiful black woman. It's a great film too. I think King of Comedy and Without You I'm Nothing, the film, are two of my, in terms of filmic.
Well, I think the amazing thing about you is that you have a sophisticated sense of art, and which you just don't find a lot in comedy all the time. Right. That you had a sensitivity to, not vaudeville, but true sort of cabaret and true show business, and you were able to sort of build yourself into this force that has to do with comedy. But I don't know why, for some reason, I was so intimidated by you, and your comedy was always so fucking ballsy, and like you meant business. To me, you were like, holy fuck. Now, when Roseanne used you on her show as a recurring character, that was a gay character and that had never really been done before.
Right. Well, we started off, where she marries Tom Arnold, his character, and then the whole premise was he was so disgusting that he turned me gay. Okay. That was sort of that was the jumping off place. Right. That was where we came up with it. It wasn't like, let's do a gay character and blow everybody's mind. It was more whimsical. It was more like, oh my God, she's so disgusted by men, now she's gay. It's but then of course, it was revolutionary in the sense that you even talked about it with humor, and it wasn't a heavy thing. But we never looked at it like, this is going to change the face of civilization. And that's why Roseanne's so great, because she just did things that were organic and real. They were real. They hit a real note.
So at what point did your career sort of shift in? Because you also became sort of pivotal in some, sexual politics, with Madonna. I mean, when did you start becoming this sort of spokesperson or icon
for the gay thing?
Yeah.
That kind of just happened naturally too. I mean, from the time I started performing. Yeah. I hung out with a lot of gay guys, and it was just like, it all just sort of, gay men just are attracted to big personalities. And
yeah, what is that? Can you explain that to me? Because I know it happens, like with Kathy and with Margaret, and there are certain people that gay men, Lisa Lampanelli even.
Yeah.
What defines that?
Because we're borderline character,
right.
It's like a characterization of a woman.
Bette Midler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's an amplification.
Yeah, it's not like we're sort of borderline on the, we could be drag queens. I mean, that's.
Do people do drag you?
Yeah.
Do they?
I've seen a few over the years.
And how's that make you feel?
Oh, I'm flattered.
Yeah. Have you seen any good ones where you're like, oh my God?
I think I've seen a couple of good ones.
Yeah. How do you identify yourself sexually?
I don't.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've always been, just myself, just a woman, just sophisticated, kind of transcending any limitations or definitions.
Yeah.
I really am attracted to people who are intelligent, open, funny. I happen to have been with my girlfriend for 12 years now, but it's like she was never with a woman, and she's totally, beyond cool and gorgeous and smart. Yeah. And we just we roll in a different kind of way. I just feel like if people could just get to that point of just being like, yeah, well, this is what's happening right now. It's kind of like, it's like people who are in marriages, and you're like, yeah, I'm married, but whatever, I could be divorced, and I don't know. It's
yeah.
Can we just stop fixating and trying to figure it out and trying to nail it to the wall?
Right.
I just it's just I'm so busy. I have my daughter's almost 13.
Oh my God. Is she getting bar mitzvah?
She had a bat mitzvah last summer.
Really?
Yeah, we did it at a Chabad, and I said they bat mitzvah girls at 12, so by 13 you can marry them off to a nice 57-year-old man. He's a widower. It would be nice for him, some nice company. She could cook for him. He could relax and study Torah.
Oh God! Why at a Chabad?
Because that's where I go a lot. Because I like to hear the Torah reading. And then you go to these conservative.
Do you understand Hebrew?
Yeah, well, I understand. Yeah, I understand. If you listen to the Torah reading enough, I understand that it's completely insane. It makes no freaking sense. But I like it. I don't know.
You're comforted by the tradition of it.
Yeah, it's a dichotomy. Because now you go to these conservative shuls. My niece was just bat mitzvah last weekend, and they're playing the guitar. Dona, 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 dona. And you go, oh, stop playing a guitar at shul. You're nauseating me.
Yeah, and there's stained glass windows there.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? There's an organ. Some of them have organs.
Yeah, well, Friday night services, somebody was this guy, looked like he was a half-cocked lounge, piano player.
Oh, yeah.
Was playing for all the Hebrew songs, and I was like, they drag it on and on and on. I thought it was going to go out of my mind. Anyway, so yeah, she was bar mitzvah last summer.
At a Chabad, that's so interesting.
Yeah, in Manhattan.
My brother's very Jewy.
In Arizona?
Yeah, but he does this sort of, the new, what do you call it, Jew boo thing.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like groovy Jew.
Yeah.
But he runs a half kosher house.
Yeah. Yeah, we all do.
How did the Chabad deal with the fact that you're not in a traditional relationship?
They don't ask questions.
Nothing?
When you write the checks.
That's it.
They don't care.
Yeah.
When they want to support their little, their Chabad outposts.
Uh-huh.
Because they're every 20 blocks in Manhattan, so they got to get their people to write the checks to keep the thing going,
Yeah.
So the hell do they care?
And tell me about this new show that you're doing now.
Well, I have a new album out. You know about that, right?
It came out, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it came out just June 7th.
What's it called?
It's called I Love Being Me, Don't You? And that was recorded live in San Francisco at the Castro Theater about 6 months ago. So that was like a one-off. I was just in the zone and just improvising and just talking about crazy shit. And there's a few pieces that I'm doing in the live show.
Wait, what kind of crazy shit?
Well, I was just talking about, and I think we were there on some sort of a it was either Labor Day or Memorial Day or something, and there was all these, they do this big fighter jet show in San Francisco every year. So we did a whole thing about don't worry about healthcare. Forget about education. As long as we can still bring our fighter jets into San Francisco. I love this country. It was sort of just like a kind of a riff on where we're at and politically.
Are you afraid?
No,
politically.
Well, no, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've gone beyond. I mean, if we made it through 8 years of George Bush, no, I mean, I'm not afraid of politics. I'm afraid of corporations.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of Monsanto. I'm afraid of the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Because they've got everybody wrapped around their little finger. They've got you convinced that if you don't go on the antidepressants, that have the side effects of destroying your liver.
It's like a big experiment.
Yeah.
I've had people where people that have problems. They go to a psychiatrist. The guy goes, I don't know what these do. Why don't you take 3 of them a day and come back in a week? And if you can still speak, maybe we're getting somewhere. It's ridiculous.
I'm a big proponent of alternative medicine, homeopathy.
Yeah, you like the homeopathy?
Yeah.
Like oscillocossalum?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like all that stuff. It does work.
Like, what have you had experience with it?
Well, I mean, I have a wonderful homeopathic doctor in New York, Annie Fox.
Yeah.
So the minute, when the sore throat's coming on, she gets you on the Boiron remedies.
Yeah.
It's a discipline because, you got to call every couple hours and say, now it's this, now it's moved into my sinuses. So you got to follow a regime.
And it works.
It does work.
Or does it doesn't just distract you from the fact that
even if that's what it is, it works.
So okay, that's true.
Mind over matter.
Did you ever have depression or anything?
Well, I think everybody has depression.
But I mean in a way that was paralyzing?
No.
No? That was never your issue?
No. It's never been my issue. I mean, I'm lucky because if I get into a funk, I just go to the gym and work out, or I go for a walk, or I hang out with my kid.
Yeah, you never had any sort of the sort of stereotypical plagues of funny people like anger, depression, neurotic.
I have all of those things. I just simply don't give in to them. I mean, I think everybody's just so wrapped up in themselves and not unable to participate in the world and the joy. That's where the glamour comes in. That's where fashion comes in.
But this is always...
This is when you go and get a little Botox and a little filler.
Uh-huh.
This is when you go and get your hair bumped up. This is when you go out for a fabulous dinner in Manhattan.
Were you
you're
always
not depressed anymore.
Were you always like that?
Yeah.
It's so weird because I get I talk to a lot of people in here and I get these ideas about who I think people are, and then I'm sitting here and I'm dealing with a well-adjusted, life-embracing Sandra Bernhard, and I'm thinking you're going to come in here and be like, what? What do you want?
God, no.
How did I make
Who
that
wants
up?
that?
Nobody wants it, but I'm happy to know.
It's so not me. That's so not me.
Do you find that you're misunderstood by some people that are?
Yeah, of course, but everybody's misunderstood.
Yeah,
everybody's depressed. Everybody's misunderstood. Everybody feels victimized. It's just what you do with it.
Yeah,
it's how you transform it.
Are you singing in the new show?
I'm definitely singing in the new show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you sing?
Well, it depends on the market. Like I just did a big show in New York at Town Hall. I opened with Across 110th Street. But I had special guests on. I had Justin Bond came on because I wrote a musical with Justin Bond last summer called Arts and Crafts.
Yeah.
The two of us are going to star in as soon as we get it set up. And then Rufus Wainwright sang with me.
He's got a pretty voice.
He's got a beautiful voice. And then Liza Minnelli sang with me. And we did that song from Chicago, Class.
How was that?
It was amazing. I've known Liza from King of Comedy days because, she worked with Scorsese and she was around and she was like, hey kid, she loved me and she was always very encouraging.
That must be fucking amazing.
It is. So that's what I'm saying. Wow, I'm depressed.
Yeah, but
I'm over at Liza Minnelli's house rehearsing, looking at all of her, Oscars and her mom's Oscars and what's there to be depressed about?
And did you grew up with Judy Garland and stuff on some level when you were a kid?
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
It's you're not much older than me, but I missed a lot of that.
The reason I'm exposed to because my grandparents, my mother, there was the old movies on in the afternoon.
Sure.
In the day,
So they would sit there and go,
we'd
look
watch.
at,
there's Myrna Loy and there's Betty Davis and everybody knew everybody and all the gossip and all the intrigue and the mystery of the old stars. So I grew up on that. I grew up getting to go see, musical theater. My brothers listened to jazz and Bob Dylan and rock and roll, and my parents listened to classical music, and, my mom played the piano, and so I was exposed to everything.
And she was a painter, too.
And she was an abstract artist, a painter and a sculptor.
Yeah, that's so great.
And so she had a whole group of fascinating friends who were her teachers. And
did you ever make those pilgrimages to New York to go to the museums and that kind of stuff?
Yes and no. I mean, we were surrounded by people who were just, I'm very successful, great artists in their own right. So, when we went to New York, when I was young, we went to the World's Fair, we saw theater,
Yeah.
So, I grew up with a very eclectic, and then we moved to Arizona, so we saw the country, and, we were in Arizona, we were in the Old West, the beauty of nature.
So you went to the World's Fair in Flushing?
Yeah, in 1964.
Right. Yeah. My parents went there.
Yeah, everybody went there.
The beehive haircuts.
Yeah, exactly. And all the pavilions.
Yeah,
no one speaks of pavilions anymore.
Oh.
And that saddens me.
And there's that globe sitting out there.
That's
still,
right. The Unisphere. The Unisphere. Tarnished. Crumbling.
So sad.
It is sad.
Well, Jesus. It's just very exciting.
It is very exciting. And the wonderful thing about this business, because it's funny, I just did an episode of the show called "Are We There Yet?" It's like a black family show on TBS.
Yeah.
And Joan Rivers was on my episode, and she played my mother. You don't know until the end, so it gets sort of like revealed.
Yeah.
When I was hanging out with Joan, and I never really met her before, and
really,
and she was, you look at, I mean, she's 77 years old, and she's still like in it, and just in it. That was inspiring. Then I went over to do this episode of Roseanne's reality show in Hawaii. They flew me over about a month ago. And Phyllis Diller was on the thing with me. And Phyllis Diller's going to be 94.
Have you met her before?
And I'd never... Well, yes. And it's embarrassing. She remembered meeting me, but I didn't remember meeting her. She's almost 94, and she remembered, and I didn't. Her mind is... She's so sharp. And I was like, that's the great thing about this business. Age, it's not about age,
I just interviewed Jonathan Winters. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I love Jonathan. We grew up. See that my brothers listened to Jonathan Winters.
It was unbelievable. I drove up to Santa Barbara. He's almost homebound a little bit because he's arthritic, but his brain.
Yeah. Same thing with Phyllis.
And just sitting there, you're like, oh my God! It's like time travel. It's like something transcendent. That there's a cadence.
How old is Jonathan Winters?
85. So, but there's
He's a kid.
Yeah, he's a youngin'. He's still going to go out and do a couple dates, but there's that cadence. There's a way that people spoke in that time.
Yeah.
And there was such a discipline to what being a show person was that is sort of disintegrated a little bit.
Yes.
And it's pretty spectacular in the sense that like when he did a bit, even when he was just sitting there, he could remember bits that he started on radio with. And he would just drop into them, and there were the voices. There was it was all happening, and it was in that cadence that you just don't hear anymore. And there's that moment where he's doing a bit, and I'm like, oh no, is this going anywhere? And I'm getting concerned.
You're getting nervous because you think Jonathan's gonna just go off the rails, and then he totally blows your mind and
brings it back around.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the same with Joan. It's the same with Phyllis Diller. I mean, these people are they stay engaged, and that's what's great about this business. You can stay in it your whole life.
So there wasn't you never went through a period of disappointment or anger or like you felt marginalized or anything like that.
Listen.
I mean, I'm not picking at anything.
Every day is a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to be back in movies in a major way. I want my own TV show, whether it's a talk show, a variety show, part of an ensemble. Yes, of course, I want all of this stuff, and I'm working back toward it. It's some days are a struggle. Some days I'm bummed out. Yeah, I mean, it's like, you don't want to always have to depend on the road to make your living.
It's a little weird, huh?
It also it's like it's always on your shoulders. You got to constantly generate new material. And I'm very hard on myself. I always try to give my audience a great show, and I never phone it in.
How do you structure your shows? Do you improvise, or do you just...
I have like some set pieces, and then I improvise around it, because, there's always something new and topical that in a month from now I probably wouldn't necessarily want to revisit. It wouldn't even make any sense.
Do you outline and then just kind of riff? Yeah. Did you always do that? You're not...
Yeah.
You don't stay... You stay away from like just straight up jokes?
I've never been a joke teller except for I'm a medium. You're a small. You're an extra large. No, I like to I riff.
Isn't that weird that I remember my first joke? It's weird, and they're always very simple and just sort of like get me through.
Yeah,
I just get that one laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so you just kind of freeform it.
I do. I freeform it. But it's always great to have your pieces to fall back on.
The ones you know.
And then always, of course, it's nice because I can sing. So like. That kind of like takes me into another zone.
Right, you got a piece, and then the piano comes up.
And then I get back in. I go in and out of my zone. And then I kind of cover all the bases of things that are creatively satisfying for me as well.
What kind of TV show would you like to do?
Well, I've written a bunch of stuff that I've pitched and hasn't been set up. I mean, of course, I always want to play kind of like the odd girl out in these settings where like I'm looking, everybody's kind of like around me, like freaking out, and I'm kind of like, hold on a minute, let's make this work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of a character. It's kind of like a postmodern Mary Tyler Moore in a certain way. Fish out of water.
Yeah.
Those are that seems to be the kind of role that would be most appropriate for me.
And you'd like to do a talk show or a variety show?
More of a variety show.
Do you miss a variety show?
I miss them, and I wrote a variety show, and I pitched a variety show. And nobody wants to do a variety show.
I don't understand that completely.
Because they have reality shows, and they're cheap to do.
Right, but I don't know why. Do you think variety would be appealing to people?
If I did it would be. Because I know how to like mix the all the different elements.
And was that Richard Pryor show that you wrote on early on? Was that a variety show? It must have been.
I didn't
right?
write on it. I did sketches.
Oh yeah, but that was a variety show, right?
Yeah,
like Sonny and Cher, Tony Orlando and Don.
It was more sketch oriented. That
was like a variety show.
That was more like a variety show.
Like,
yeah.
What were some of the other ones? There were so many. I remember vaguely.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Sonny and Cher. Dinah Shore, Johnny Cash. Everybody. Dean Martin.
Show.
Jackie Gleason.
Oh, that's right.
You remember?
Yeah,
the June Taylor dancers.
Yeah.
Everything was, and then there were the big specials, Streisand, Streisand's.
Did you ever meet her?
I did. I met her a couple of times.
How was that?
She's cold.
Really?
She looks down at you like,
Have you had that experience where you've met people that you were like worshipped and you're like,
Streisand.
That was it, huh?
That was the main person.
How about Bet?
Bet's not super warm either, and I've been really nice. I mean, I used to write fan letters to Bet when I was really young, and yeah. I got your fan letters. You love me. I know. Yeah. I was like, well, don't flatter yourself, honey. Fuck you, Bet. Go to hell. No, I mean, you're sitting here like you're young, you love somebody. It's like if somebody came up to me and was 17 or 18 and I'd hug them. I'd say, thank you, you sweet person.
Oh, it's so
and if they turn out in 10 years to be a bigger star than me, what the fuck do I care?
Right.
It's no impact on my success. There's always going to people be surpassing you. You're on a highway. You're driving at 70. Somebody drives past at 85. Gaga, I love you, Gaga. She's zooming into the future. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't stop the future.
Yeah. Are you a Gaga fan?
I like her. I can't quite figure her out yet. I'm just like, what?
What's baffling?
I think she covers a lot of territory in terms of what her, her motivation is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's like concerned about her audience, and she's like, doesn't want people to be bullied, and she's been bullied, and she's, and
she's a talker.
She's a monster. It's like, I don't know what? Gaga, stop, help.
I was very surprised because I'm fairly detached pop culture wise for some reason. I just don't have the time, or I'm too old, or I'm too busy. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to keep up with
it. It is, but like I end up sitting there watching her special in Madison Square Garden, and I was completely entertained and moved.
Yeah.
Like I'm just surprised because you like initially I was just dismissing her as some sort of costume chick who did this shtick, but she's very she engages in a very real way.
She's a good lady,
and she talks.
And most of all, and above all, she can play that piano and she can sing live. And that's saying a lot because most people cannot do that.
She does sing.
She sings.
And Madonna. Do you think like a lot of people are like, she's just doing Madonna? I think it's a different shtick, don't you?
I think she, like me being influenced by Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler. I'm sure she was influenced by Madonna.
Of course. That was the business model on some level.
Yeah, it was the business model. But I think she has her own thing. And she is, it's the next generation. It's always the next generation. It's the post-modern of the person who influenced you.
Yeah, there's no way
and
to
that doesn't take
that.
anything away from the person who was your model. It's a new model.
Do you ever watch comedy? Or are you aware of any of it?
I like Lisa Lampanelli. I think she's funny because she's so out there. I mean, she takes it so...
I'll tell you something. I knew her when she was teaching comedy. Like she used to be this, angry comedy teacher at stand-up in New York. She did stand-up, but she was teaching classes. And then all of a sudden she became this thing. And I went to see her do a live show, and I'd never seen her do her thing.
Right.
And I had not been, it'd been a long time. When I was a doorman at the Comedy Store, it was during Kennison's reign. And, you know, whatever you thought of that guy, when you were in the room and he was performing, there was some sort of weird, kind of almost wrong electricity in the air. And when she was on stage, it was primarily gay men, and it was just her balls to the wall with her get up doing her shtick. It was menacing, man. Like there was something going on there. I'm like, oh my God, there was no moral barometer. There was no nothing.
Yeah, she takes it all the way out there. I like I like all the girls that, you know, the Kristen Wiggs and the Amy Poehlers and Maya Rudolph.
Have you seen Maria Bamford? You ever seen her?
No.
You should check her out. She's a trip.
Okay.
But I'm just talking.
Are
you friends still with because it's interesting now, like I knew a certain version of Paul Mooney when I was a doorman. And you knew a much younger version of Paul Mooney, and now he's sort of reinvented himself in a way without changing himself at all.
Right.
But because of Chappelle, he's got this whole new legion of people. But do you keep in contact with him? Because I think that he's a mysterious character.
Well, he is. And you know what, he called me on Mother's Day, and I tried to call him back, and I don't think the number I have for him works anymore, and I'm a little concerned. So if anybody out there has Mooney's new number, please call me.
Yeah.
He doesn't have email. I can't text him. I don't know where the hell Mooney is. I mean, I'm just going to have to, I'm going to look on Caroline's website. The next time he's at the comedy, at Caroline's, I just have to go and find him. So
you keep in touch with him occasionally, though?
Yeah, no, we're very close. Yeah. I mean, if I saw him tomorrow, we just pick up where we left off, you know? Yeah. He's always been there for me throughout my life. He's like my family.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a deep dude.
Yeah, and then he just disappears, though. You know, he does the disappearing act,
and he's got all these kids too. I remember he had these kids, the Mooney twins.
Yeah, Paul's got 6 kids. One was actually murdered by a friend of his a few years ago. It was super heavy.
Wow.
His youngest.
Oh wow.
I'll never forget when I came home and my girlfriend said, "Honey," I said, "What?" You got Mooney's youngest son was shot and killed. I said, I call Mooney. I was hysterical.
But like a real little kid, right? Or
No. He was already like in his 20s.
Oh, okay.
And some friend of his, they were sitting in the car arguing, and the friend just shot him.
Oh, God.
Horrible. So I don't know how Mooney got through that, but Mooney just pushes through shit, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get heavy in that direction, but yes, my point is I love Mooney, and it doesn't matter if I don't talk to him for a few months, but we are always connected.
And what about, do you have any relationship with Letterman?
No.
Because he used to have you on the show a lot.
I was on the show 30 times.
But he doesn't, I don't get the sense he has a relationship with many people.
No, he doesn't. But I'm sad, and it's funny, I'm always dreaming about Letterman, constantly.
Like real dreams?
Yeah, like I dream, like, like I'm trying to, get him to, love me and have me back on the show. It's just it's horrible.
Have you tried to get back on the show?
Yeah.
And you just don't know?
No, he's just has a bug in his ass about me and will not have me back on.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Jay?
Jay hasn't had me on a long time, but I think part of that was because, when I was on with Howard talked about, we had, a thing when I was 20. I had sex with Jay Leno.
Yeah. When
I was really young. He wasn't with anybody, but Jay called me that day. He was all freaked out. He goes, I've been with Mavis. I said, Jay, it's humor, it's comedy. I mean,
yeah.
But he hasn't had me on again either. But of course, tomorrow, if I'm in a hit TV series,
sure,
or I'm in a movie that brings $150 million, the publicist will call, and I'll be back on these shows.
Yeah. What are you doing out here now? Did you fly out for my show?
I flew out for your show.
That's very nice. No one has ever done that before.
No, I'm having some meetings and, getting around town, and then I'm going to San Francisco to do a bunch of shows up there on June 24th and 5th.
The current show?
The current show.
What's it called?
I Love Being Me.
Don't you? Okay.
And I'm promoting my album, and will be probably for 6 or 7 months to a year, because it's a comedy album. It's not like music. I'm not trying to get my a hit song on the radio.
Yeah, and we'll promote it here. And I'm so happy you came by. I hope you are happy.
I've been really excited about this. I just.
Did it go the way you wanted?
Yeah, well, I just got direct. I mean, my person sent me this link, and it was like, your house showed up, like your Google Map house on the street, and I called him. I said, are you serious? Do you expect me to? Because I know LA very well. And I know because I go Glendale Freeway the other way to my brother's house. Yeah. but this direction, and then you got to cross over, and there's these 40th streets and these streets, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I blew up. This is
what I wanted to see.
This is where I get cunty. When somebody sends me directions that are fucking preposterous, I'm like, okay, should I just go out and get lost and show up at Marc Maron's at 3:00 in the afternoon after I've been sweating and freaking out, and I get there and I'm a cunt to Marc Maron? Is that how it's going to work? Fine. Fuck you. And then he calls back and goes, I'll take you. I was like, yeah, no shit you're going to fucking take me, asshole. Take me.
Oh, I'm so glad you gave me that. Well, thanks for coming out.
That was the perfect way to end.
That's it, folks. See that? Sandra, not as angry as I thought. I don't know why I need anger to connect, but I love talking to her. Thanks for listening. If you need anything WTF related, you can always go to WTFpod.com. And you know, my album is still out, and it sold pretty good. If you didn't pick that up, if you get it through the site at WTFpod.com, we'll send you a signed one. But pick up the record. I'm proud of the record, the CD, the files. This has to be funny. For the apps, iPod Touch, iPhone, what is it? iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad, Droid. You can get those at the App Store under WTF, or you can get them through WTFpod.com. Get on the mailing list. Again, I'll be at Nashville, at Zany's in Nashville. This week, September 8th through 10th, I'll be at the Improv in Louisville. September 22nd through 25th. The Southern, that's my Southern swing there. A lot of good guests coming up. A lot of good guests. Boomy's not in here today, so we can't have the cute cat closer. Okay, that's it. I'll talk to you later.